A very good evening. This is the weekend edition of Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Legal experts must lead to safeguard the rule of law in the face of technological progress, says Chief Justice. Educational reforms must nurture quality children. Advice from the Malwathu and Askeri chapters to the Prime Minister.
බෝසත්කමත් හොඳයි තත් වඩා හොඳ බෝසත්කම ආගමයි දහමයි කියන මේ වචන දෙක උනත් කුසලකිල්ලකට ගන්න ඕනේ.
Reducing tariffs strengthens the foundation to achieve export targets, aiming for 18 billion, says the Export Development Board. Many countries express concerns over Trump's tariff policies. One dead in Hungama shooting. Suspect surrenders over to police. Severe lightning warnings issued for several provinces.
On to those stories in detail. Chief Justice Preeti Padman Sirasa says lawyers must take the lead in collaboration with experts, the government and through legislation to ensure the legal system keeps pace with the rapid technological advancements. He made his remarks at the ICT Law Conference 2025 held in Colombo.
The ICT Law Conference 2025, organized by the ICT Lawyers Guild of Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo, focusing on the evolving legal landscape in the digital era. Held under the theme Law in the Digital Pulse, Shaping Sri Lanka's Legal Future in the Age of AI, Data and Cyber Governance, the conference featured a series of panel discussions addressing key issues related to artificial intelligence, data protection, cybersecurity and digital governance.
Now you see the gap between justice and technology. It is to fill up this gap that some of the legal practitioners interested in this subject, along with few other experts who are also interested in subject, convened a meeting and formed this ICT Lawyers Guild. And they have been successful because it is the lawyers, when there is a gap, we the lawyers will have to fill. Of course, along with other experts and the minister and the government and by way of legislation, but the lead has to be taken by the lawyers. And it is important that we get together and meet this challenge. And to that extent, I think ICT Lawyers Guild has been in the forefront from the beginning and has been spearheading this path, these actions to meet the challenges both in the past and the challenges ahead.
As Sri Lanka undergoes a rapid digital transformation, we are entering an era where law and technology must evolve together, not in parallel but in partnership. Today, I want to highlight the urgent need of ICT competent legal minds. The modern lawyers must not only interpret law but also understand how technologies such as AI, data sovereignty, data protection, data privacy, digital identity and cybersecurity and plethora of other technological aspects that affects the rights of citizens and actions of corporations and the obligation of the state. This government has prioritized digitalization as a pillar of national development. But without right digital legal frameworks and lawyers who understand how to enforce them, we cannot build public trust and protect our digital rights.
When I reflected on this topic, I thought of dealing with it in two ways. How the emerging technologies and artificial intelligence have impacted on our daily lives and correspondingly how the legal landscape has changed, the contours of legal landscape, how it has changed over the last few years. In fact, we are not preparing for a digital world. We must bear the fact in mind that we are virtually in the middle of that digital world. So as we journey towards the nuances, as we journey towards the ramifications of the digital world that have spawned a lot of benefits as well as disadvantages for the legal fraternity, we must not forget the fact that the disadvantages and the ill effects of AI technology they far outweigh some of the benefits it has brought about.
The evolution of legal processes through technology, new legal challenges emerging in our digital age, and the evolving role and responsibilities of the judiciary. Let us not confuse technological advancement with justice delivery. A court hearing conducted over video conference may be faster and more cost effective, but we must ask, was it fair? Was the party able to participate meaningfully? Was the judge able to assess credibility and nuances as effectively as in person? Technology is a tool. It is not a panacea. We must ensure that in embracing innovation, unintentionally erode the principles of natural justice. We must remember that speed is not a substitute for fairness, and convenience must not compromise integrity. Beyond procedures, the law itself is being challenged by the pace and complexity of digital innovation.
I think all of us are quite conversant that these are changing times, and especially for lawyers who have been little late in embracing technology. Still, we tend to carry these huge files to court, and then I represent a fairly ancient government department which is 140 years old. Well, one of the biggest problems we had on the last week is that with this Right to Information Act, we are supposed to preserve documents, files for a couple of years. I think I echo the words and echo the sentiments of Lordship the Chief Justice, and that is very timely that he intends using digital and digitization of the court proceedings and to make it a sort of a fast track, because even courts, all of us will have to come to a stage where it's going to be a paperless. I heard the word paperless. I mean, I would say we are somewhat sort of a bit distant from achieving that, but we have to start somewhere, and I'm quite happy that that sentiment is coming from no other than the Chief Justice.
Legal professionals, industry experts, academics and policymakers participated in the event, which aimed to foster dialogue on strengthening Sri Lanka's legal framework in response to rapid technological advancements.
The Judicial Service Commission has suspended the services of Moratuwa District Judge Thilina Gamage pending an investigation into allegations including the illegal possession of an elephant calf. The Commission formally notified Judge Gamage of the suspension in writing yesterday. The Anunayaka Theros of the Askiri and Malwatu Ubaya Mahaviharas have requested Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya to ensure that the new educational reforms emphasize the development of compassionate and virtuous children.
The Anunayaka Theros of the Askiri and Malwatu chapters, along with the Venerable Theros of the Central Committee, were briefed on the new educational reforms during a meeting held at the Sri Dalada Maligaon in Kandy. The discussion took place under the patronage of the Minister of Education, Higher Education and Vocational Education, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya.
The global education system has long been centered around economic value. However, the world has now come to realize that this approach alone has not been entirely successful. As a result, we observe a growing awareness even in countries like the United States, China, Japan and Korea that economic progress must be accompanied by creativity and humanity. Today, the world acknowledges the importance of integrating subjects such as aesthetics, history and arts into education. These disciplines nurture creativity, empathy empathy and cultural understanding. In this context, we emphasize that any changes to our national curriculum must be fair and equitable to all Sri Lankan school children, regardless of their background. There was a time when education was a privilege of the wealthy, but we have worked to make it a legacy of the poor. If such notable policies are abandoned in the name of reform, it will be difficult to guide our country and future generations toward the vision we have dreamed of. Prime Minister, we may ask, can one raise only rich children? Wealth, of course, has its value, but even more important is virtue. The words religion and dharma must be handled with great sensitivity and wisdom. The sensitivity in which you speak of, the comparison, the moral depth must arise from the heart. If we are to nurture individuals with sensitivity, empathy and wisdom, and build a society rooted in comparison, we urge you to take great care in reforming our education system.
ඔබතුමියගෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන මේ අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමයේ වෙනසෙදී සැලකිලිමත් වෙන්න කියලා.
දරුවෙක් පාසල තුල වසර 13 ඉවර කර
After a child completes 13 years of schooling, we still do not see the development of sufficient skills to identify and solve complex problems in an increasingly complex world. More importantly, we observe a troubling decline in emotional resilience. Mental stress is on the rise, and so too are suicide rates among the younger generation. The ability to face challenges, cope with pressure and resolve issues has become significantly weaker. This is a challenge that goes far beyond simply changing a curriculum. For these reforms to succeed, parents must have confidence in them. Society at large must also trust the direction we are taking. This requires not only solid knowledge and understanding of the proposed changes, but also open and honest dialogue. This is why we propose to introduce these reforms in a series of well-planned steps. We are open to suggestions, feedback and collaborative ideas. As I have already stated, we will move forward gradually, step by step, so that we can gather a broad range of perspectives. This approach is essential to building trust in the reform process and ensuring that these changes truly serve the needs of our children and our society.
විශ්වාසයක් සමාජය තුල ගොඩනැගීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවයත් නිසා.
Representatives from several professional education associations also took part in the discussion.
ජාතික වශයෙන් ඉතාමත්ම වටිනා සාකච්ඡාවක් සිද්ධ වුණා.
For a long time in this country, we have witnessed various decisions being made concerning national education. Many actions have been taken in the name of educational reforms, but often these changes occurred behind closed doors, lacking transparency. Today, however, we see the emergence of an open and inclusive dialogue. These current educational reforms contain several positive elements. It is essential that we now foster a broad national conversation for the development of national education.
අපි මේ මොහොතේ පුළුල් වේදිකාවක් කතා බහක් ගොඩනගිය යුතුයි.
විෂයමාලා ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය.
We are in an era where curriculum reform is just not necessary but essential. The current syllabus is outdated and no longer meets the need of our time. It must be changed. I would like to emphasize that this reform effort is of great importance. We should work to minimize existing shortcomings. On our part, as teachers and principals, we presented all of our proposals. We raised concerns regarding the subject of history and aesthetics. Additionally, we discussed the proposed extension of class periods to 50 minutes and the school day until 2 p.m. We agreed to continue discussions in the future.
සාකච්ඡා කිරීමට අපේ අදහස් අනුව යම් එකකතාවයකට පැමිණියා.
Every year, around 350,000 children enter grade 1. But after 18 years of education, only about 30,000 to 40,000 of them gain access to what we consider acceptable higher education. The rest, hundreds of thousands, are left behind. If the system continues like this, there is no justification for maintaining a Ministry of Education. Every child deserves an education that contributes meaningfully to the development of the country. Our goal should be to equip students with skill and knowledge that not only serve Sri Lanka but empower them to thrive anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, this is not happening under the current system. That is why we have made the decision to undertake comprehensive education reform. A new library at the University of Vavuniya was officially opened this morning under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Haranya Surya. Following the opening, the Prime Minister engaged in a discussion with university faculty, administrative staff and students.
As you know, we are proposing education reforms for the school sector because I think many of you would agree that we can't be satisfied with the undergraduate we are getting to the university, right? I mean, the quality of the undergraduate, the basic skills needed to be in the university are not there. I myself, when I was teaching in the university, often found that I was teaching them, our students, things that they should have learned in school. But because the schools are not doing or unable to deliver their job properly, universities are becoming almost like we have to spend about 1 year trying to catch up with what they should have learned in schools. And this is having a big impact on our higher education system. So we have focused on really changing the education system for schools to make sure that when a child leaves school, they are equipped either for the world of work or for higher education. And then the universities can get on with what they have to do. So this is the reform that we are trying to implement from next year. With the younger generation, increasingly mental health issues are becoming a real problem. It's not only ragging, violence on campus, harassment is becoming a big issue. And it's not just between students, but unfortunately even faculty, students, within faculty, we know harassment, bullying occurs. We need to stop this. We need to make our universities safe places where everybody can thrive and everybody feels protected. So I would really like us all to take that approach where we make these universities places where we nurture each other and not harass each other.
Prime Minister met with education sector officials in Jaffna, where she held discussions focused on the upcoming education reforms.
The promotion of digital transactions within the financial system, including banks, is currently underway. Participating in such a program held in Dambulla, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe emphasized that along with promoting digital transactions, the necessary infrastructure should also be extended to the rural level.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka organized a digital transaction promotion program centered around the Dambulla Economic Centre. The event was held under the patronage of Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe.
What we are saying is that this QR code is a low-cost option, and that's what makes it so important. Constantly carrying cash to banks, refilling ATMs and managing cash is a significant expense for banks. The only way to reduce this cost is by encouraging customers to use QR codes and providing them with the necessary facilities. This benefits everyone. It's good for banks, good for customers, good for farmers, and good for all. Some people have an unnecessary fear that they will be taxed because of this. That is not the case. If taxes are applicable, they apply even to cash transactions. No one can avoid them. As the tax system becomes more robust, there is no way to evade it. The real issue here is not taxation, but ensuring the safety of transactions through the app. We guarantee the security of digital payments.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Export Development Board, Mangala Vijayasinghe, says that with the reduction of US tariff rates, the targeted export revenue of $18 billion could be achieved this year. He stated that the National Export Development Plan is expected to be completed by September.
The countries we face competition from in the apparel industry are India, Bangladesh and Vietnam. With the implementation of a unified tariff rate on all these countries, we will be able to protect Sri Lanka's market and further develop exports, which will benefit our apparel sector. We say that our National Export Development Plan is now in its final stage, and we expect to complete it by September. Our hope is to further promote Sri Lanka's export market. In particular, we see growth in exports to African countries, Middle Eastern countries, European countries, the United Kingdom and Asian countries. We have also seen diversification of products during this period. Therefore, as the Export Development Board, by making use of all these opportunities, our expectation is to move towards the $18 billion target for this year. In the first 6 months, we have already achieved progress of $8.3 billion. This shows a 7% growth compared to last year. For the remaining 6 months, our hope is to increase this growth from 8% to 10% and reach the expected export earnings for this year, achieving the highest progress.
President's Counsel M.A. Sumantiran, General Secretary of ITAC, expressed his appreciation for the reduction of US tariffs to 20% at a media briefing held in Jaffna today.
Reducing the tariffs imposed by the United States to 20% is a highly positive development. This approach is particularly beneficial for our country's economy. Without such a measure, the entire population could have been adversely affected. We therefore welcome and appreciate the opportunity to implement this tariff reduction.
Minister of Justice and National Integration expressed his opinion regarding the recent reduction in the US tariffs.
Many people said that if the 40% or 44% tariff had remained in place, it could have severely damaged our country's apparel industry. That's why, under the guidance and advice of the President, a group of economic experts including Harshana Surya Peruma got involved to address this matter. I'm not here to talk politics right now, but people used to say things like, "You can't do this," or "How can people who don't even speak English handle such issues?" Today, we managed to bring that tariff down to 20%. That's a remarkable achievement. It clearly reflects the maturity of the economic team led by our President, a team capable of navigating international politics and complex economic matters with great intelligence. So, to those who doubted us and spread stories, I ask you now to rewind your words.
US President Donald Trump on Thursday adjusted the reciprocal tariff rates for several countries ahead of the Friday deadline announced earlier. The White House also announced a 40% tariff rate for all goods transshipped to the US to avoid the applicable duties.
In an executive order, President Trump imposed new tariff rates on countries that failed to reach updated trade agreements with the US earlier in the week. He outlined a new framework for deals with nations that successfully negotiated revised terms. Trump's move has now reshaped America's trading relationships worldwide, with new tariffs on more than 90 countries. Countries not listed in the latest order will face an additional duty of 10%. The latest directive modifies tariffs imposed under the earlier executive order issued in April. Canada. US neighbor Canada has been slapped with 35% tariffs, which have already come into effect. The two countries have been engaging in an escalating trade conflict since early this year. Goods that are covered by the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement are not impacted. In a statement, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said the country was quote-unquote disappointed by the US increasing tariffs. Carney also pushed back against the US justifying high tariffs with cross-border drug flows, an argument Trump has repeatedly made. India. Having not arrived at a deal with the US president, India faces 25% tariff, the same as announced on Wednesday. On Thursday, India's Commerce and Industry Minister told the country's parliament that the country has been negotiating with the US for a trade agreement by October-November this year. He added that the government gives great importance to protecting farmers, entrepreneurs and medium and small enterprises and will take all needed steps to safeguard its national interests. Japan, Asia's second largest economy, had struck a deal with Trump that brought the tariffs on Japanese exports down to 15% from 25% on the 23rd of July. The agreement also slashed duties on the country's critical automobile sector down to 15%. In a press conference yesterday, Chief Cabinet Secretary said the new tariff rates, quote, will reduce uncertainty regarding US trade policy and lower the risk of a downturn in our economy and the global economy, end quote. Japan will continue to urge the US to sign the presidential order to bring auto tariffs down as soon as possible. Switzerland. Switzerland is among the countries with a higher tariff rate of 39%. The country's Federal Council said it noted, quote, despite the progress made in bilateral talks and Switzerland's very constructive stance from the outset, the US intends to impose unilateral additional tariffs on imports from Switzerland, end quote. The council added, quote, Switzerland has been and remains in contact with the relevant US authorities. It continues to seek a negotiated solution with the US, end quote. South Africa. South Africa is facing tariffs of 30% according to the latest figures. In a statement, the president expressed concern about the tariffs, saying South Africa would continue negotiations with the US. New Zealand. New Zealand is among the countries now facing a 15% tariff rate, up from 10% previously. The country's trade minister, Todd McRae, said it seemed as though the tariff rates were targeting countries that have trade deficits with the US, but that the size of it was, quote, really not significant or meaningful, end quote, in New Zealand's case. Australia. Tariff rate on Australia was held at 10%, among the lowest level of duties that the US imposed on its trading partners. Don Farrell, Australia's trade minister, said, quote, "What this decision means in conjunction with all of the other changes to other countries is that Australian products are now more competitive into the American market," end quote.
News First, with the people.
Meanwhile, Minister of Agriculture K.D. Lalkantha says that the purchase of paddy through the Paddy Marketing Board is currently being carried out with maximum efficiency.
The previous government destroyed the Paddy Marketing Board. We've now reopened Paddy Marketing Board centres wherever possible. But still, there's another issue. The PMB lacks the necessary staff. As you know, the recruitment of 2,130 public service employees was halted by the last administration. That's why many key state institutions are understaffed. There are numerous vacancies at the Mahaweli Authority. To my knowledge, the country doesn't even have 35 qualified advisors in some critical sectors. There are no staff in the post-harvest department, and the Department of Agriculture also lacks officials. This shortage extends across various state sectors, even the Railway Department, the Petroleum Corporation and some hospitals. When I took office, a group of young people came to the ministry requesting confirmation of their appointments. It was heartbreaking to see the disappointment on their faces. I asked them where they are from. The first one said Navalapitiya. Then I asked 25 more. All 26 of them said they were from Navalapitiya. Why? Because the former Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Ananda is from Navalapitiya. That's how recruitment was done. Now we are hearing that the Paddy Marketing Board is rejecting paddy in some places due to excess, while in other places it's accepting too little. These inconsistencies still exist. Some places have too much paddy, others not enough. Still, in 2024 and so far in 2025, farmers haven't sold paddy for less than 120 rupees per kilogram, which shows the pricing has been stable. The Paddy Marketing Board must maintain a stockpile. Why? Because private buyers are manipulating the market, raising rice prices and exploiting consumers. To prevent uncontrolled increases in rice prices, the PMB must hold sufficient stocks and release them into the market when needed through mills, through Satosa, cooperatives or other appropriate channels. That's how price stability can be ensured. On the other hand, the Paddy Marketing Board must be fully reviewed. We've started that process. A man was shot dead in Hungama. According to the police, the victim was shot near a shop. The deceased has been identified as a 32-year-old man. Following the incident, the suspect surrendered to the police. Police believe the shooting may have stemmed from a personal dispute.
In some tragic news, 42 were injured in a bus accident in Dehu with a Tamiliana this morning.
A bus carrying employees from Daraniyagala to the Sitavaka Industrial Zone met with an accident this morning. The accident occurred when the bus driver, attempting to give way to a three-wheeler travelling ahead, lost control of the vehicle. The injured were admitted to the Avisavela hospital. No serious injuries were reported from the accident.
The Department of Meteorology says that thunder showers accompanied by severe lightning are likely to occur at several places in northern, north central, eastern and over provinces and in Hambantota district.
Department of Meteorology has announced that thunder showers accompanied by severe lightning are likely to occur at several places in the country. There may also be temporary localized strong winds during thunder showers. The department has requested the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning.
The inauguration of the 28th Federation of Asian Photographic Art Congress took place in Colombo today.
Sri Lanka has been selected to host the 28th International Conference of the Federation of Asian Photographic Art, one of the world's leading photography events. More than 100 travel photographers are expected to visit Sri Lanka to participate in this prestigious conference.
Today, I am deeply honored to acknowledge the decision made by FAFA to host its 28th International Congress in Sri Lanka in the year 2025. This decision not only a recognition of Sri Lanka's growing presence in the world of photographic art, but also a testament to our country's cultural richness, scenic diversity, and the talent of our artists and photographers. As the Minister of Buddha Sirasa, Religious and Cultural Affairs, I see this as a more than just a congress. It's a golden opportunity to an invitation for Sri Lanka to become a hub for photographic art across Asia. We are a nation of storytellers, of landscapes based in natural beauty, of centuries-old tradition and sacred heritage sites that inspire both spiritual reflection and artistic expression.
Moreover, this Congress comes at a time when Sri Lanka revitalizing its tourism industry. I am pleased to announce that we strongly encourage the integration of photography and tourism as complementary forces.
Our photographers have a unique chance to work hand in hand with the tourism sector to tell the story of our island through images that will travel the world and attract global visitors. This collaboration will not only promote our country's image, but empower also our photographers economically and professionally. Let this forthcoming 28th PAFA Congress 2025 serve as a platform not only for creative exchange but also for unity, innovation and promotion of our peace through art. Let us show the world how a lens can capture the soul of a nation.
I thank FAFA for its confidence in Sri Lanka.
The event is being hosted by the National Photographers Association as the official representative of Sri Lanka. International delegates will embark on a post-conference tour to experience the country's rich cultural and natural heritage.
The buzz is building in Colombo as the final countdown begins for the highly anticipated Walshy Fire and Friends concert. The show's headliner, Walshy Fire of Major Lazer, arrived in Sri Lanka today, joining fellow international superstars Diana King and Kevin Little just one day before the big event.
The excitement is at its peak in Colombo as the final countdown begins for the Walshy Fire and Friends concert. The show's headliner, Walshy Fire of Major Lazer, arrived in Sri Lanka today.
Yo, what's up everybody, this is Walshy Fire, and as you can see, I just arrived in Sri Lanka and I'm ready for Walshy Fire and Friends. Big weekend ahead, Sri Lanka. Hope you guys come out.
Presented by Yes 101 and Legends 966, the live show will be the centerpiece of the launch weekend for the new City of Dreams.
Sri Lanka marked a historic milestone today with the grand opening of City of Dreams Sri Lanka, the country's largest ever investment and South Asia's first ever fully integrated luxury resort.
City of Dreams Sri Lanka, South Asia's first ever fully integrated luxury resort, officially opened its doors today. Gracing this iconic moment was Bollywood superstar Hrithik Roshan, who arrived in Colombo to join the celebrations. The glamorous event brought together celebrities, dignitaries and special invitees, all part of this landmark occasion that signals a bold new chapter in Sri Lanka's hospitality and tourism landscape.
In your sports news, Trinity College were crowned champions of the 2025 Schools Rugby League after 38 years. With one more match still remaining in this year's tournament, Trinity secured the championship by defeating Wesley College Colombo in today's game.
Trinity College Kandy clinched the Inter-School League Rugby Championship with one match to spare, securing the top spot in the points table. In their latest game today, Trinity defeated Wesley College Colombo. Wesley led 7-5 at half-time in the match played in Pallekele. Trinity mounted a strong comeback in the second half, scoring 18 points, while Wesley managed only 14. The final score stood at 23-21 in favour of Trinity. Trinity's points came from 3 tries, 1 conversion, a penalty and a drop goal, while Wesley recorded 3 ties and 3 conversions. With this victory, Trinity maintained their unbeaten record in the tournament. Yes 101 of the MTV-MBC Media Network is the official radio partner of the Trinity College rugby team for this year's Inter-School Rugby Tournament. Royal College Colombo secured the Michael Gunaratnam Memorial Trophy by defeating St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia. The match was played as part of the knockout stage of this year's Inter-School League Rugby Tournament at the St. Thomas's College grounds in Mount Lavinia. Royal led the first half 18-8. In a heated second half, Royal added another 12 points, while St. Thomas's scored 21 points but fell just short of victory. Royal won the game 30-29, securing their points through 4 tries, 2 conversions and 2 penalties, and St. Thomas's registered 4 tries, 3 conversions and a single penalty.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For details of the stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst, where the people come first, I'm Martin Satyanes. And you take care and good night.